A luminous bridge once connected our world directly to the heavens. This is the Sky Ladder, a mythic pathway to immortality and enlightenment found in cultures across the globe. By the end of this journey, you will understand how these ancient stories reveal a hidden blueprint for your own personal growth and transformation. We will uncover why a Chinese emperor built a jade staircase to the stars and what a burning Norse bridge foretells about the end of the world. How does the idea of a celestial climb speak to your own life's journey? Deep in the frozen forests of Siberia, a shaman begins a perilous climb. His ladder is a great tree with notches carved into its trunk, each step carrying him further from the earthly realm and closer to the world of spirits. This powerful image is one of humanity's oldest and most enduring visions, the primordial sky ladder in its most tangible form. It represents a universal yearning, a bridge desperately stretched across the chasm between our world and the divine. Scholars like Mircea Eliade called this symbol the Axis Mundi, the cosmic center that connects heaven, earth, and the underworld. It is the still point around which the universe turns, a sacred pathway for communication and ascent. We find this concept everywhere. In the biblical story, Jacob dreams of a ladder reaching to heaven with angels ascending and descending, a clear channel between God and man. In Hindu tradition, the immense Mount Meru rises from the center of the world, its peak touching the celestial realms. These are not mere stories. They are profound maps of reality, depicting a hierarchical cosmos where the sacred is above and the human is below, with a single, vital connection between them. This ladder served many purposes. It was a conduit for prayers to rise and for blessings to descend. It was a test for heroes and kings, a difficult path only the worthy could climb. For the ancient Egyptians, a ladder was essential furniture in the tomb. Spell 155 in the Book of the Dead provided a magical ladder for the pharaoh's soul, ensuring he could climb his way to the imperishable stars to join the gods. So what does this collective dream tell us? It reveals a shared, fundamental aspiration to transcend our limits. The Sky Ladder is an archetype, a blueprint of spiritual ambition buried deep in our collective psyche. It is the original quest for something greater. One of the most stunningly elaborate accounts of this quest comes from the heart of ancient China. High atop a three-tiered altar, the Son of Heaven stands alone. The scent of burning sandalwood fills the air as he offers sacrifices to the vast, star-dusted sky. For the emperors of the Zhou dynasty, this was not mere ceremony. It was a literal step onto the celestial staircase, a jade ladder that connected their earthly rule directly to the cosmic order. This was the Chinese vision of the Sky Ladder, a profound symbol of imperial ascent and divine right. Ancient texts like the Classic of Mountains and Seas speak of these stairways, used by mythical sage kings to climb upward and receive the mandate of heaven. This was not just a spiritual idea, it was the very bedrock of political power. The emperor was the pivot, the linchpin between the human world and the celestial realm. His virtuous rule maintained the balance of the cosmos itself. Scholars like Anne Burrell point out how this belief system, known as the mandate of heaven, legitimized an emperor's authority. If he was just and the kingdom prospered, it proved he maintained his connection to the divine. But if famine or disaster struck, it was a sign the mandate was withdrawn and the ladder to heaven had crumbled. This cosmic contract was woven into every aspect of imperial life. The Jade Ladder was often depicted flanked by dragons and phoenixes, celestial creatures symbolizing imperial power and auspicious fortune. In grand seasonal festivals, the emperor would reenact this sacred climb, performing intricate rituals that mirrored the ascent of the soul. This symbolism was carved into palace architecture and painted on silk scrolls, a constant visual reminder of the emperor's unique role. Consider the legendary Yellow Emperor Huangdi. After unifying the land and bringing civilization to his people, he was said to have achieved ultimate enlightenment. His reward was not a crown but an ascent. A golden ladder descended from the clouds, and he climbed it to achieve immortality, becoming one with the Tao. This story perfectly captures the ultimate goal, the final step on the ladder, where enlightened rule leads to transcendent unity with the cosmos. So how did this belief shape an entire civilization? It created a society where spiritual authority and political governance were inseparable. The emperor's primary duty was to be a conduit for heavenly will, ensuring harmony between human actions and the rhythms of the universe. This philosophy demanded order, virtue, and reverence, principles that would define Chinese culture for millennia. The Jade ladder was more than a myth. It was the invisible architecture supporting a cosmic empire, a story that gave divine structure to the human world. And as this idea of a sacred climb traveled across the globe, it found a stunningly different expression in the stepped pyramids of the ancient Americas. Deep within the humid air of the Maya jungle, the ceiba tree rises with a profound silence, its massive trunk and high branches forming a living pillar of the cosmos. This was far more than a plant. It was the Waka-chan, the world tree, a vibrant, breathing sky ladder that held the layers of existence together. Its roots plunged deep into the watery darkness of Xibalba, the underworld. Its trunk stood firm in the middle world of human life, and its highest branches cradled the 13 layers of the heavenly realm, a domain of gods and ancestors. This tree was the ultimate axis, a conduit for spiritual energy and divine travelers. The epic Popol Vuh tells of the hero twins who descended into Xibalba and later ascended to become the sun and the moon, their journey mirroring the tree's path through all worlds. Anthropologists like Dennis Tedlock help us see that this was not a static symbol. The world tree represented the relentless, turning wheel of life, death, and rebirth, its very alignment with the sun and stars marking the sacred cycles of time. Every part of the tree held meaning. The roots were not just in the ground, they were tangled in the realm of fear and testing. The trunk was our shared reality, the place of struggle and community. The branches were the ultimate aspiration, the promise of transcendence. Consider the story of the plumed serpent god Quetzalcoatl. To create a new humanity after a world-ending flood, he had to journey to the underworld. He descended the world tree into the realm of the dead to retrieve the sacred bones of previous generations. This was not a simple retrieval. It was an act of profound sacrifice and resurrection. He offered his own blood to animate the bones, using the world tree as his ladder to bring life back from death. So what does this arboreal ladder teach us about our own resilience? It insists that true ascent is impossible without deep roots. You cannot reach for the heavens without first being grounded in the realities of the earth and even the darkness below. The world tree myth celebrates interconnectedness. It tells us that our spiritual ambitions are woven into the very fabric of the natural world, that growth requires drawing strength from every part of our experience, even the most difficult. This vision of a ladder woven from life itself stands in dramatic contrast to the one we find in the frozen north, where the path to the gods is forged not from wood, but from flame and desperate hope. A burning rainbow bridge trembles under the weight of the gods. This is Bifrost, the shimmering, impossible pathway to Asgard, forever guarded by the watchful Heimdall. In the Norse world, the sky ladder was not one structure, but two, each embodying a different facet of a cosmos perpetually balanced between order and chaos. Alongside the fiery bridge stands Yggdrasil, the world tree, an immense and eternal ash whose roots and branches bind the 9 worlds together. This was not a gentle, static symbol. The tree was a living, suffering entity. At its highest perch sat a wise eagle, and gnawing at its deepest root was the serpent Nidhogg. Between them, the squirrel Ratatoska ran messages of slander and spite, a constant current of tension that kept the cosmos in a state of dynamic, fragile equilibrium. Scholars like H.R. Ellis Davidson see this as the core of the Norse worldview, a system where order is not a default state but a hard-won achievement, constantly threatened by the forces of entropy. The ultimate test of this order is Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. It is a prophecy where both ladders play a crucial, terrifying role. Bifrost, the bridge of hope and connection, will shatter under the march of the fire giants, severing the link between the divine and all other realms. Yet through the ensuing cataclysm, Yggdrasil, though it shakes violently, is foretold to survive, its deep roots holding fast. This reveals a profound truth about the Norse path to wisdom. The bridge, a beautiful but fragile construct of fire and ice, can be broken, but the tree, grounded in suffering and experience, endures. This principle is etched into the myth of Odin himself. The All-Father did not simply find his knowledge. He hung for 9 days and 9 nights on the windswept branches of Yggdrasil, pierced by his own spear, a willing sacrifice to gain the secrets of the runes. His ordeal demonstrates that true enlightenment is not given. It is seized through immense personal suffering, a painful initiation that forever changes the seeker. How does this reflect the broader Viking ethos? It speaks to a culture that looked a harsh and uncertain world directly in the eye. Their myths taught that doom is inevitable, that even the gods will fall, but that courage and the relentless pursuit of wisdom grant a form of immortality that transcends even physical destruction. The Norse ladders remind us that the most transformative journeys are not safe. They demand everything, promising not a peaceful eternity, but the raw, hard-won power that comes from facing the abyss and continuing to climb. This potent blend of myth and meaning would soon find new expression, not in epic poetry, but in the structured arguments of the world's first philosophers. In a sun-drenched Athenian courtyard, Socrates describes a different kind of ascent, one that begins not with a tree or a bridge, but with a single human glance. He presents a ladder of love, a philosophical sky ladder where every rung elevates the soul toward a truth beyond the physical world. This is Plato's vision from the Symposium, a structured path where our most basic desires are not suppressed, but transformed into the very fuel for enlightenment. The climb starts with the love for one beautiful body, a natural, powerful attraction. But this is only the first step. The seeker then learns to see the beauty in all beautiful bodies, recognizing a shared quality. The next rung is the love for beautiful souls, the inner character that outshines mere physical form. From there, the ascent continues to the love of beautiful laws and institutions, and then to the love of knowledge itself. The final, breathtaking step is the contemplation of the form of beauty, an absolute and eternal truth that is the source of all beautiful things below. This philosophical framework reframes desire. It suggests that the longing we feel for another person, for art, or for knowledge is not a distraction from the divine, but a faint echo of it, a clue that can guide us upward if we know how to follow it. Centuries later, philosophers like Plotinus would deepen this into Neoplatonism, viewing the entire cosmos as an emanation from a supreme source called the One, and the soul's purpose as an arduous return journey back to this ultimate unity. We see this Platonic ladder vividly in Dante's Divine Comedy, where the poet is guided by his idealized love, Beatrice, through the celestial spheres of paradise. His love for her does not chain him to the earth, but instead provides the motive and the means to ascend through ever higher realms of light and understanding until he stands in the direct presence of God. So what does this philosophical ladder reveal about our own yearnings? It argues that the path to enlightenment is not about rejecting the world, but about seeing through it. Every experience of beauty, justice, or love in our daily lives is a potential portal, a single step on a staircase that leads from the particular to the universal, from a fleeting moment to an eternal reality. This elegant idea that our deepest desires are secretly aligned with a cosmic purpose would become a cornerstone for the world's great monotheistic faiths, where the ladder would take on a new, profoundly personal dimension. Jacob's head rests on a cold stone pillow, a weary traveler far from home when the dream descends. A ladder is set upon the earth, and its top reaches to heaven, and behold, the angels of God are ascending and descending on it. This single, potent image from the book of Genesis has echoed for millennia, a sky ladder vision that would define the relationship between the divine and humanity for the entire Abrahamic world. Unlike the imperial jade staircases of China or the shamanic trees of Siberia, this ladder appears not to a king or a priest, but to a solitary, flawed man on the run. Its message is revolutionary: God is not distant, and the pathway is open. Biblical scholars emphasize that this was a moment of covenant, a promise that the land Jacob slept upon would belong to his descendants, with the ladder itself symbolizing the unbroken connection, the constant traffic of prayer and providence between realms. The angels were not just visiting, they were working, maintaining the link. This vision has been endlessly unpacked. In Jewish tradition, the ladder is often interpreted as Mount Sinai, with the angels representing Moses and Aaron ascending to receive the Torah, the divine law that itself becomes a structured path toward God. For Christian theologians, the ladder prefigures Jesus Christ, who in the Gospel of John is described as the true connection between heaven and earth, the one upon whom the angels of God ascend and descend. In the mystical Jewish tradition of Kabbalah, the ladder becomes a map of the soul's ascent through the 10 Sephirot, the emanations of God, a journey of spiritual refinement toward enlightenment. We find a powerful parallel in Islam's account of the Isra and Miraj, the night journey of the Prophet Muhammad. Guided by the Archangel Gabriel, Muhammad is transported from Mecca to Jerusalem and then ascends through the 7 heavens, meeting previous prophets at each level until he stands in the direct presence of God. Though not always depicted as a literal ladder, the journey is a clear vertical ascent, a profound confirmation of prophethood and divine accessibility. So what is the enduring power of Jacob's particular dream? It democratizes the sky ladder. You do not need to be an emperor on a 3-tiered altar or a shaman in a trance. Divine communication is possible for the humble, the faithful, even the one who feels alone and uncertain. The ladder is planted right where you are sleeping, a testament that revelation can find you in your most ordinary moments. This belief in a tangible connection between earth and heaven did not remain confined to scripture. It would soon inspire believers to reach for the sky with stone and mortar, constructing their own ladders in the form of breathtaking architectural marvels. Sunlight blazes against the whitewashed brick of a towering ziggurat, its stepped sides forming a stark staircase against the Mesopotamian sky. These were not just temples, they were profound declarations in stone, physical sky ladders built to close the gap between humanity and the gods. At the summit of the great ziggurat of priests performed rituals, believing the thin air and elevated platform placed them in the very antechamber of the divine. Historians like Jean Bottero describe these structures as artificial mountains, consciously constructed to replicate the sacred high places where heaven and earth were thought to meet. Each tier represented a different layer of the cosmos, a deliberate ascent from the mundane world below to the celestial realm above. The entire construction was an act of cosmic engineering, aligning with specific stars and planetary movements to harmonize human activity with the universe's grand design. The pharaohs of Egypt pursued a similar goal with even more enduring materials. The Great Pyramid of Giza was far more than a tomb. It was a colossal launch pad for the soul. Its smooth, sloping sides were believed to be a ramp of light, a physical manifestation of the ladder the deceased king would climb. Ancient texts describe the pharaoh joining the circumpolar stars, the so-called imperishable ones, achieving an eternal existence among the gods. The pyramid's precise alignment with celestial bodies was not an accident of architecture, it was the entire point. It anchored the earthly realm to the heavens, creating a stable conduit for the ultimate journey. What does this incredible human effort tell us about our drive for transcendence? These ziggurats and pyramids stand as monumental proof that the Sky Ladder was more than a comforting story. It was a goal so compelling that entire civilizations would dedicate generations and vast resources to its physical construction. They believed that with enough will, precision, and devotion, they could build their way to enlightenment, crafting a permanent bridge to the stars from stone and ambition. This tangible architectural approach to the divine would eventually give way to a more internal and mystical path, one built not with bricks, but with pure consciousness. A medieval alchemist peers into his crucible, watching flames lick at a dark, heavy substance. He calls this stage calcination the fiery destruction of the ego. But the real transformation is not happening to the metal in his vessel. It is happening within his own soul. This is the secret heart of alchemy, and its central symbol was the Scala Philosophorum, the ladder of the philosophers. This was not a ladder of stone or wood, but a meticulously charted path of spiritual purification, where each chemical process represented a stage in the ascent to enlightenment. The ultimate goal was the creation of the philosopher's stone, a substance said to grant immortality, but which the true adept understood was a metaphor for the purified and perfected self. The legendary Emerald Tablet, a foundational alchemical text, captures this with the phrase, "As above, so below, the ascent of the soul mirrors the transformation of matter." You must ascend through the elements, refining your own inner lead into spiritual gold. So how does this alchemical ladder actually work? The first rung is almost always calcination, the burning away of the personality's pride and illusions. It is a humbling, a reduction to ash. Next comes dissolution, where those ashes are washed away. This is the release of old attachments and emotional patterns, a surrender that feels like drowning in a vast ocean. Then follows coagulation, the moment the refined spirit solidifies into a new, integrated whole. This is not a return to the old self, but the birth of a conscious, unified being. The great psychologist Carl Jung saw this entire process as a perfect map of what he called individuation, the journey toward psychological wholeness. For Jung, the alchemist's laboratory was the human psyche itself. The base metals were our raw, unconscious instincts and complexes. The long, patient work of transformation was the difficult process of bringing these dark parts into the light of awareness, integrating them rather than fighting them. Each rung on the alchemical ladder represented a step in overcoming a base desire or a deep-seated fear, not by destroying it, but by understanding and transmuting its energy into something creative and life-affirming. How does this reframe our entire understanding of the Sky Ladder? It turns the quest inward. The chasm to be crossed is no longer between earth and heaven, but between your unconscious self and your true, awakened potential. The celestial realm is not a physical place in the clouds, but a state of consciousness, a lasting peace and clarity achieved only after the hard, internal work of self-mastery. The alchemical ladder teaches that true immortality is not about living forever in a body, but about achieving a wholeness so complete that the soul becomes unshakable, a golden consciousness that reflects the divine. This profound focus on inner transformation finds a powerful echo in the quiet stillness of Eastern meditation. A monk sits in perfect stillness, his breath the only motion in a silent room. He is not merely resting, he is climbing. Each deepening state of concentration, each jhana, is another rung on a ladder leading away from suffering and toward a profound and lasting freedom. In the wisdom traditions of Buddhism and Hinduism, the sky ladder finds its most practical and systematic form, a detailed roadmap for the internal ascent of human consciousness. This is not a myth to be believed, but a path to be walked step by disciplined step. The Buddha himself outlined this very climb, a gradual path beginning with moral discipline, which purifies action and intention. This foundation supports the development of intense mental focus, a single-pointed concentration that quiets the chaos of the mind. Only with this stability can one cultivate penetrating insight, seeing directly into the nature of reality, its impermanence and inherent emptiness. The final step is liberation itself, the cessation of all suffering, a state known as nirvana. Teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh have long emphasized that this is not a sudden event, but a patient unfolding. You do not leap to the top of the ladder, you feel for each rung with careful attention. In the Zen tradition, this entire journey is beautifully captured in the Zen Ox Herding Pictures. They tell the story of a boy searching for his lost ox, his own true nature. The early pictures show the struggle of the search and the first glimpse of the ox's tracks. The middle images depict the gradual taming of the animal, representing the mastery of the mind. In the final, transcendent pictures, the boy and ox return home together, and then both are forgotten, leaving only an empty circle, a symbol of a self utterly dissolved into the unity of all things. This is the ladder's end, where the climber and the climb become one. Hindu philosophy offers a parallel structure in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the renowned eight-limbed path of Ashtanga Yoga. This ladder begins with ethical restraints and observances, the yamas and niyamas. It then moves to the physical postures of asana and the breath control of pranayama, preparing the body as a stable vehicle for the spirit. The higher limbs turn inward through withdrawal of the senses, concentration, and sustained meditation, until the final stage of samadhi is reached, a state of ecstatic union where the meditator, the act of meditation, and the object of meditation merge into a single, undifferentiated reality. So what is the essential lesson these Eastern ladders impart? They teach the profound virtue of patience. Spiritual growth is an organic process, much like a seed cracking open in the dark soil. It cannot be rushed. Each stage requires its own time, its own specific work. The desire for a sudden, blinding enlightenment is itself a form of grasping that the ladder is designed to help you release. These traditions insist that the goal is found in the process itself, in the mindful placement of one foot after the other on a path that ultimately leads you back to your own original, awakened nature. This ancient understanding of a structured inner ascent now finds a surprising resonance in the modern language of science, as psychology begins to map these very same territories of the human mind. A patient lies on a couch recounting a dream of a fragile ladder swaying in the wind. To Carl Jung, this was far more than a random image. It was a direct message from the collective unconscious, a universal archetype of the soul's ascent toward wholeness. Jung discovered that symbols like the sky ladder appear in the dreams and fantasies of people across all cultures, a shared psychological inheritance he called the archetypes. These are not learned ideas, but innate patterns of thought and behavior, deep wells of symbolic meaning that guide our development. The ladder archetype specifically maps the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating the conscious ego with the vast, often hidden, realms of the personal and collective unconscious. It is the internal climb toward becoming a complete and authentic individual. Jungian analysts note that when a ladder appears in a dream, it often points to a period of significant personal growth, a spiritual yearning, or an attempt to bridge a divide within the psyche itself. The act of climbing can represent effort and progress, while a broken or unstable ladder might reflect fears of failure or a fragmented sense of self. This process revolves around the central archetype of the self, the unified totality of the psyche that acts as the ultimate goal of the individuation journey. The ego begins as the center of our conscious awareness, but through the difficult work of confronting our shadow, our anima or animus, and other archetypal figures, it gradually realigns itself to serve this greater, more complete self. Symbols are the native language of this process. In therapy, paying attention to these spontaneous images, whether in dreams or active imagination, provides a roadmap. They are not just pictures, they are living psychological facts that guide the individual through their unique path of transformation. Jung saw sacred art like the mandala as a symbolic ladder. Its circular form with a central point represents the psyche's natural movement toward integration and order, a structured ascent into the center of one's own being. So how do these insights help us understand our own journey toward fulfillment? They suggest that our fascination with sky ladder myths is not merely cultural. It is a biological and psychological imperative. These ancient stories are external dramatizations of an internal, universal process. The Chinese emperor climbing the Jade staircase, the shaman ascending the tree, and Odin hanging on Yggdrasil are all wearing different cultural costumes, but they are performing the same essential drama of the human soul seeking its own completion. Jung's work reveals that the sky ladder is an innate blueprint for human potential, etched into the very structure of our minds. This powerful psychological framework would soon provide fresh soil for an old symbol, as contemporary authors began to weave these archetypal ladders into new narratives of quest and self-discovery. A spaceship vanishes into the swirling vortex of a wormhole, not merely traveling, but ascending to a realm of stars once reserved for gods. This is the modern sky ladder, stripped of stone and jade but overflowing with the same ancient yearning. In our secular age, fantasy and science fiction have become the primary vessels for this timeless archetype, reimagining the celestial climb as technological breakthrough or ethical crucible. Authors use these new ladders to explore the very same themes that preoccupied shamans and emperors, the dangerous allure of power and the transformative price of knowledge. In Frank Herbert's epic Dune, the spice melange is a biochemical ladder. It grants the guild navigators the prescience to fold space, but it also creates a terrifying dependency, a physiological and political chain. The pursuit of this transcendent substance unleashes crusades and topples empires, a stark warning that every ladder can become a cage if climbed without wisdom. Ursula K. Le Guin masterfully inverts the motif in her novel The Lathe of Heaven. Here, a man's dreams can reshape reality itself, a seemingly ultimate ladder of power. Yet his well-intentioned psychiatrist, attempting to scale this ladder for humanity's benefit, creates a cascade of catastrophic unintended consequences. The story argues that to reshape the world, you must first be utterly transformed yourself, a lesson straight from the alchemist's playbook. We see the archetype everywhere in modern myth. Neil Gaiman's American Gods features a modern, cynical Tower of Babel, a skyscraper where new gods of technology vie for power, their ascent a direct echo of the ancient, doomed ambition to reach heaven. The Stargate itself is a literalized sky ladder, a ringed portal that turns cosmic travel into a single step, making astronauts into the new celestial voyagers. So how do these stories keep the archetype alive? They translate the spiritual quest into narratives of progress and peril that resonate with a technological society. They ask us if our rockets and AI are simply new forms of an old prayer. The modern ladder suggests that our drive for elevation is irrepressible, whether we seek to conquer the stars or the inner frontiers of consciousness. This enduring human impulse finds its most direct and unbroken lineage not in fiction, but in the living practices of shamanic traditions that have never stopped climbing. A rhythmic drumbeat echoes through the jungle canopy, a steady pulse guiding the shaman's spirit as it leaves his body and begins to climb. In these living traditions, the sky ladder is not a relic of the past but a vibrant, essential tool for navigating the invisible geography of the spirit world. This is ecstatic ascent, a journey undertaken not for personal glory, but for the profound healing of the community. Anthropologist Michael Harner spent decades documenting this shamanic climb, describing it as a deliberate shift into an altered state of consciousness. The shaman, whether in the Amazon or Siberia, becomes a cosmic traveler, using the ladder to cross the threshold into realms where illness has a spiritual cause and wisdom is held by ancestral guides. The entire process is a meticulously structured ordeal. It begins with intense preparation, days of fasting and purification to make the body a clean vessel. The ascent itself is often triggered by the monotonous rhythm of a drum, the ingestion of sacred plants like ayahuasca, or fervent chanting. This is not a passive trance but an active, perilous climb. The shaman might visualize a rope, a vine, or a ladder of smoke rising from the ritual fire, each rung carrying them further from the ordinary world. In the vast Siberian tundra, this ladder takes the tangible form of a ceremonial pole or a tree with notches carved into its trunk, a direct echo of the world tree that we explored earlier. The shaman climbs this Axis Mundi, reporting their journey aloud to those gathered, describing the landscapes and entities they encounter. The goal is often to reach the upper world and confront a spirit guide, a power animal, or a divine ancestor to retrieve vital information, bargain for a lost soul, or acquire the spiritual medicine needed to cure a sickness back home. What does this tell us about the mind's own frontiers? These traditions operate on a fundamental principle that consciousness is not confined to the skull. It can be trained through discipline and sacred technology to journey beyond the physical body and interact with a reality that is just as complex and impactful as our own. The shaman's return is as critical as the ascent. They bring back a tangible boon, a song, a diagnosis, or a healing prescription, grounding their celestial journey in practical benefit for their people. This entire practice reframes the sky ladder as an instrument of service. The shaman climbs so that the community does not have to, facing spiritual danger to restore balance and health. This ancient, direct engagement with the cosmos through ascent finds a fascinating parallel in the way our ancestors mapped these varied journeys onto the night sky itself. The night sky itself was the grandest ladder of all, a sprawling celestial architecture of myth and meaning. Ancient astronomers did not simply see random points of light. They traced the rungs of a cosmic staircase used by gods and departed heroes. The shimmering band of the Milky Way was not just a galaxy, it was a luminous river of souls or a brilliant bridge stretching across the heavens. This was the ultimate sky ladder, a map of the divine written in stars. Scholars like Giulio Magli propose that ancient monuments were built as earthly anchors for these celestial pathways. The massive stones of Stonehenge, for instance, align with the solstice sun and key stars, potentially creating a ritual gateway, a fixed point where the community could symbolically access the cosmic ladder during sacred moments of the year. The entire landscape became a reflection of the sky, a way to bring the distant heavens down to human reach. We find this celestial mapping in vibrant cultures across the globe. In Greek tradition, the nimble god Hermes was said to move between Olympus and Earth on a ladder of light, a messenger shuttling between divine and mortal realms. Far away in the Andes, the Inca Empire organized its entire territory around a system of sects, invisible lines radiating from their capital, Cusco. These were not just property lines, they were sacred pathways aligned with specific celestial bodies, used for pilgrimages that mirrored the journey of the stars. To walk a sec was to climb a predetermined rung on a territorial and spiritual ladder, connecting villages to holy shrines and ultimately to the cosmos itself. The constellation Orion serves as a powerful cross-cultural example. In ancient Egypt, it was the soul of the god Osiris, the first king to achieve resurrection and immortality. His stars were a gateway through which every pharaoh hoped to pass. For the Maya, the three stars of Orion's belt were seen as the hearthstones of creation, the central fire around which the cosmic home was built. How did early stargazing inspire such profound myths of ascent? It transformed the vast, impersonal universe into a familiar landscape, a place where human destiny was written in constellations. Every hero placed among the stars was a promise, a testament that the climb was possible. Celestial ladders reveal a profound desire to project our earthly journeys onto the heavens, to find a blueprint for our aspirations in the orderly motion of the night sky. This human impulse to visualize the climb did not stop with star charts. It poured into the art and icons that filled temples, manuscripts, and public squares for centuries. A golden ladder stretches across a fresco in an ancient monastery, each rung carved from a different virtue. On its precarious steps, robed monks climb toward a radiant heaven, while grotesque demons tug at their robes, trying to pull them down into a swirling abyss. This is not merely decoration. It is a visual sermon, a painted sky ladder known as the Ladder of Divine Ascent, a masterpiece of Byzantine iconography that maps the soul's arduous climb toward God. Art historians like Erwin Panofsky taught us to see these works as dense theological arguments in visual form. They are structured diagrams of spiritual ascent, where every color, figure, and composition is a deliberate symbol. The ladder itself represents the path of ascetic discipline. Its rungs, often 12 or 30, correspond to specific virtues the climber must master, from obedience and repentance at the bottom to prayer and love at the top. The demons are not external monsters, but the personalized temptations of pride, greed, and despair that assail the seeker at every stage of their inner journey. This powerful visual language was not confined to the East. In Western Europe, medieval illuminators filled the margins of sacred manuscripts with intricate ladders, showing prophets and saints in a constant state of upward motion. The 12th century Scala Paradisi manuscript depicts this climb in exquisite detail, its vellum pages serving as a portable ladder for meditation, allowing any devout reader to visualize their own spiritual progress step by step. Centuries later, the surreal and brilliant Hieronymus Bosch would reimagine this motif with a darker, more chaotic energy. In his triptych The Garden of Earthly Delights, fragile ladders connect the strange realms of the panel, some climbed by nude figures, others used for sinister purposes. Bosch's ladders are ambiguous. They can lead to revelation or folly, reflecting the perilous freedom of the human will and the ever-present risk of a misguided climb. So what is the enduring message of these artistic ladders? They make the internal struggle visible and universal. They assure the viewer that the path is difficult and fraught with failure, but that each rung of patience, humility, and courage brings you closer to the light. These are not pictures of a destination, but of a process. They are moral and inspirational guides that transform the abstract idea of enlightenment into a tangible, step-by-step journey that anyone can attempt. This artistic tradition of depicting the climber's struggle would naturally evolve to focus on the climber themselves, transforming the universal ladder into the singular, winding path of the mythic hero. A hero stands at the edge of the known world, gazing up at a ladder woven from trials and dreams. This is the heart of Joseph Campbell's monomyth, a universal story pattern where the sky ladder becomes the very structure of transformation. The hero's journey is a climb in disguise, a symbolic ascent where each trial is a rung leading away from the ordinary world and toward a profound revelation. Campbell mapped this archetypal path, identifying stages that read like instructions for climbing a celestial staircase. It begins with a call to adventure, a disruptive invitation to leave comfort behind. Then comes supernatural aid, a mentor or magical gift that serves as the first firm handhold on the ladder. The ultimate stage is apotheosis, a dizzying elevation to a new state of being where the hero touches the divine. This is not a random sequence. It is the soul's innate blueprint for growth, dramatized in countless cultures. The Epic of Gilgamesh shows us a king scaling the twin peaks of Mount Mashu to find the secret of eternal life, his physical climb mirroring his internal struggle with mortality. Centuries later, Luke Skywalker looks up at the rope ladder leading into the Millennium Falcon, a simple act that marks his first step onto a galactic ladder of destiny, one that will lead him to confront his own shadow and ultimately achieve a form of enlightenment. These narratives insist that the climb itself is the catalyst. You are not the same person at the top of the ladder as you were at the bottom. The trials you face on the way up forge a new consciousness. Consider the powerful Sumerian myth of the goddess Inanna. She does not simply ascend, she makes a deliberate descent, removing a symbol of her power at each of the 7 gates to the underworld until she stands naked and dead before her dark sister. Her subsequent resurrection and return is a crucial lesson. True ascent often demands a prior, willing descent into our deepest fears and vulnerabilities. We see this same pattern in modern myth. Harry Potter's entire journey is a climb through a magical education. Each year, a new rung represented by a challenging potion, a deadly maze, or a difficult spell. His ultimate victory requires him to descend willingly into the forest to face his own death, a sacrifice that ultimately enables his return and the healing of his community. How does this ancient pattern of the hero's ladder speak to the challenges in your own life? It reframes our struggles not as obstacles but as essential rungs. A call to adventure might be a job loss or a personal crisis. The supernatural aid could be a supportive friend or a sudden insight. The apotheosis is that hard-won moment of clarity where you see your situation and yourself in an entirely new light. The monomyth teaches that this pattern of ascent is not reserved for legendary figures. It is a universal rhythm of human growth, a story we are all living in our own ways. This understanding of our personal journeys as sacred climbs naturally extends to how we view our relationship with the living world around us. An old-growth forest is far more than a collection of trees. For many indigenous cultures, it is a living ladder, its canopy a gateway touching the sky, and its roots a conduit to the world below. This is the Ecological Sky Ladder, a vision where the entire natural world is a sacred infrastructure for spiritual and cosmic connection. Mountains are not just rock, they are the bones of the earth reaching upward. Rivers are not just water, they are flowing pathways of life force. Every element of a thriving ecosystem functions as a rung in this vast living structure, maintaining a balance that is both biological and deeply spiritual. Thinkers like Joanna Macy frame this as the Great Turning, a shift in consciousness where we recognize the world not as a collection of resources to be used, but as a sacred, interconnected body to which we belong. This worldview is not a new age invention, it is an ancient, enduring principle. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories describe the journeys of ancestral beings who literally formed the landscape as they moved across it. A particular rock formation is not random, it is the footprint of the rainbow serpent. A waterhole is not just a source of drink, it is a sacred well created by a creator spirit. The land itself becomes a topographic map of a celestial climb, with every mountain, river, and valley serving as a step created for spiritual travel and constant remembrance of the connection between the earthly and the divine. This perspective instills a profound ethic of care, because to harm the land is to desecrate a ladder used by ancestors and spirits. The role of biodiversity in this system is crucial. It is the structural integrity of the ladder itself. A forest with a rich variety of plants, insects, birds, and mammals is a resilient and vibrant conduit of energy. It can weather storms and heal from fire. A monoculture, a silent forest of a single tree species, is like a ladder with half its rungs missing, a fragile structure that cannot support a full spiritual or ecological load. This intricate web of life maintains the cosmic balance, and myths from every corner of the globe carry stark warnings about what happens when these connections are severed. The Norse myth of Ragnarok, where the world tree shudders and the cosmos falls into chaos, is a powerful allegory for ecological collapse. It is the ultimate consequence of broken covenants with nature. So how can these ancient perspectives inform modern conservation? They provide a missing dimension, a soul. They argue that we protect a wetland not just for its function in filtering water, but because it is a breathing, spiritual entity. We preserve a migration corridor not only for genetic diversity, but because it is a sacred path walked by generations of beings. The ecological ladder teaches a humbling truth that our own ascent, our own pursuit of a better world, is utterly dependent on the health of the earthly foundation beneath our feet. We cannot climb a ladder we are simultaneously burning. This reverence for the natural pathways that connect us finds a surprising parallel in another universal human experience, the power of sound to elevate the spirit. The deep, resonant hum of a Tibetan monk's chant is far more than a song. It is a vibration you can feel in your bones, a sonic ladder built from pure tone, each ascending note a rung lifting consciousness toward a higher plane. Across the world's spiritual traditions, sound itself becomes the most immediate and visceral sky ladder, a vibrational pathway to transcendence that bypasses the intellect to speak directly to the soul. Ethnomusicologists such as Elaine Danielou have shown that the scales and rhythms used in sacred music are not arbitrary. They are precise acoustic architectures designed to mirror the mathematical order of the cosmos and deliberately alter human brainwave patterns, facilitating trance states and opening a gateway to the divine. In the Hindu and Buddhist traditions, this takes the form of bija mantras, seed syllables like Om that are considered the fundamental sounds of creation. Chanting these mantras is not a passive recitation, but an active tuning of the self. Each syllable is believed to correspond to a specific energy center or chakra within the subtle body. As the chant ascends in pitch and intention from the root to the crown, it systematically activates this inner ladder, pulling awareness upward from primal instinct to spiritual illumination. This is a climb made of vibration, a resonance that scrubs the mind clean of distraction and aligns the individual with the universal hum of existence. Centuries earlier and a world away, the Greek philosopher Pythagoras taught a nearly identical concept. He heard the same celestial music in the motion of the planets. For Pythagoras and his followers, the cosmos was not silent. The mathematical ratios governing the orbits of the moon, sun, and planets produced a sublime, inaudible harmony, the music of the spheres. The human soul, itself composed of a similar mathematical harmony, could learn to attune itself to this cosmic scale. Through the disciplined study of music and mathematics, one could climb this auditory ladder, refining the inner self until it resonated in perfect sympathy with the divine order of the universe. We find this same ecstatic ascent through sound in the mystical heart of Islam. In Sufi traditions, the rhythmic, hypnotic poetry of Qawwali music and the spinning motion of the whirling dervishes are not performances. They are sonic engines for spiritual flight. The repetitive drumming, the soaring vocals, and the poetry of divine love work in concert to overwhelm the rational mind and shatter the ego. The whirler's spin is a physical vortex, a bodily echo of the sonic ladder, creating a centrifugal force that throws the soul outward from its earthly center toward union with the beloved. Here, the entire body becomes an instrument, climbing the ladder of vibration toward a state of blissful annihilation. So how does a simple sequence of notes hold such transformative power? Sound is a wave, a physical vibration that moves through matter, including the matter of our own bodies. Sacred sound uses this physical principle for a spiritual purpose. It literally rearranges our inner state, shaking loose the sediment of ordinary thought and emotional attachment. The sonic ladder demonstrates that the bridge between the material and spiritual worlds is not made of stone or light, but of frequency. It is a pathway built from the very fabric of reality, a resonant thread that, when followed, can lead you home to a deeper awareness. This ancient understanding of sound as a tool for ascent now finds a fascinating echo in modern psychology, which is beginning to measure the very real, tangible benefits of embracing these timeless mythic journeys. A therapist sketches a simple ladder on a notepad, inviting their client to name each rung. One step might be learning to set a boundary, another could be practicing self-compassion. This is the Sky Ladder archetype at work in a modern therapeutic setting, transforming an ancient myth into a tangible tool for mental and emotional well-being. Psychologists have long recognized that archetypal stories provide a powerful structure for navigating life's complexities. Figures like Jordan Peterson emphasize how these narratives offer a symbolic map, helping individuals orient themselves during periods of confusion or suffering. The ladder gives a visual form to the often abstract process of growth, making progress feel concrete and achievable. When you can see your challenges as rungs on a ladder rather than impassable walls, the entire journey shifts from overwhelming to manageable. One practical application is narrative therapy, where individuals are encouraged to reframe their life stories. Instead of being trapped by a narrative of failure or victimhood, a person learns to see their history as a difficult but purposeful ascent. Each past struggle becomes a step they have already climbed, evidence of their inherent resilience. The ladder imagery provides a new, empowering plot for their personal myth. Similarly, mindfulness practices can be framed as a gentle, moment-by-moment climb. Each conscious breath is a small step upward, away from the chaotic chatter of the anxious mind and toward a summit of inner calm. In art therapy, clients might be prompted to draw or sculpt their own personal ladder. They choose what material it's made from, how many rungs it has, and what each one represents. This externalization of an internal process is profoundly healing. It allows someone to literally see their path to self-actualization, perhaps noting that the fifth rung, labeled forgiveness, needs more strength, or that they are currently standing firmly on the third rung of healthy routines. So what is the core mental health benefit of engaging with these ancient stories? They provide a container for hope. In the depths of depression or anxiety, the future can feel like a flat, gray expanse. The Sky Ladder reintroduces the dimension of verticality, the crucial idea of upward movement. It reassures us that our current pain is not a permanent location, but a single step on a longer climb. These therapeutic ladders prove that myths are not relics to be studied, but living frameworks that can actively guide us toward healing and wholeness. Yet this very drive to climb, to improve and transcend ourselves, raises a profound ethical question about its ultimate expression. The story of Icarus is a whisper of smoke on the wind, a timeless warning that every ladder has a weak rung. His wax wings, a brilliant human invention, could not withstand the sun's fierce glory, a stark lesson that the desire for ascent, when untempered by humility, leads to a fatal fall. This is the profound ethical dilemma at the heart of every Sky Ladder journey. The very ambition that drives us upward can become a form of hubris, a pride that blinds us to the consequences of our climb. Philosophers like Susan Neiman help us see these myths not as commands to stay on the ground, but as essential guides for navigating the thin air of high ambition. They encourage virtuous effort while cautioning against a reckless overreach that severs our connection to the world and people below. Consider the delicate balance between ambition and humility. To climb is to strive, to believe you are capable of more. Yet, true ascent requires an acknowledgement of your limits, a respect for the height itself. The myth of the Tower of Babel illustrates this perfectly. Humanity, united by a single language, sought to build a tower that reached the heavens. The divine response was not to destroy the tower out of malice, but to confound their language, scattering them. The punishment was for the arrogance of a unified, unchecked ambition that sought to storm the gates of heaven without reverence or invitation. It was a forced return to humility, a reminder that some boundaries exist for a reason. This leads directly to the weight of responsibility that comes with any form of elevated knowledge or power. In many shamanic traditions, a healer who uses their connection to the spirit world for personal gain or harm is believed to suffer terrible consequences, their own power turning against them. The climb grants access, but it also demands a sacred contract. The knowledge gained at a higher vantage point is not meant for self-aggrandizement, but for service. This is why so many myths feature gods who fiercely guard their celestial realms. The Greek tale of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, is a complex parable of this tension. His act was one of profound compassion, yet he was eternally punished for it, highlighting the cultural taboos and severe risks of accessing divine power without authorization. How then do these ancient narratives guide us toward an ethical spiritual practice in our own lives? They insist that true enlightenment is not a solitary peak you conquer alone. It is a state of being that inherently includes compassion, connection, and restraint. An ethical ladder is one you climb with an eye on those below, pulling others up rather than leaving them behind. It means recognizing that the power or insight you gain is a trust to be held gently, not a weapon to be wielded. The ultimate goal is not to become a god, but to become more fully, responsibly human, integrating the wisdom from above with the realities of the world below. This ancient conversation about the price of ascent is no longer confined to myth. It is now being tested in the most modern of arenas, as technology begins to construct its own formidable and controversial ladders to the sky. A programmer's avatar stands before a shimmering, digital construct, a ladder woven not from wood or stone, but from pure, cascading code. This is the new frontier of the Sky Ladder, a pathway built in the architecture of virtual reality and artificial intelligence, reflecting our ancient yearning for ascent in the silicon landscapes of the 21st century. Here, the climb is simulated, yet the desire is profoundly real. Futurists such as Ray Kurzweil speak of an approaching technological singularity, a point where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, creating a ladder of exponential growth. This is not a staircase to a heavenly city, but a ladder of enhanced cognition, emerging with machines that promises to extend our minds and potentially our very consciousness toward a form of digital immortality. We are already building the lower rungs of this ascent. Online meditation apps transform spiritual discipline into a gamified journey, where daily practice earns you points and unlocks new levels of guided tranquility, turning the patient cultivation of awareness into a quantifiable climb. Artificial intelligence chatbots, trained on the entirety of human philosophy and sacred texts, now offer personalized spiritual counsel, a digital oracle available at any hour to guide your ethical quandaries or existential doubts. Perhaps most strikingly, projects dedicated to digital legacy and mind uploading propose a final ascent, preserving the patterns of a personality, its memories and quirks, in a vast digital archive, creating a ladder that the self might climb even after the body has failed. These innovations force a difficult question upon us. Can a circuit board truly replicate the soul-shaking ordeal of a shaman's ecstatic journey? Can an algorithm, no matter how sophisticated, understand the raw human cost of Odin's sacrifice on the world tree? The digital ladder offers unprecedented accessibility and scale, but it risks reducing the sacred, messy, and deeply personal process of transformation into a sterile, standardized product. Yet, their very existence is a powerful testament. They prove that our drive to transcend physical and mental limits is irrepressible. We are now using our most advanced tools to construct the same archetypal bridge, attempting to code our way toward enlightenment and etch our consciousness into eternity. Whether these silicon ladders lead to genuine awakening or merely a sophisticated echo chamber, they are the latest expression of a story as old as humanity itself. This brings us to the final synthesis, a moment to step back and see the single, stunning pattern woven through every culture and every age. The sheer diversity of these celestial pathways is breathtaking, yet they all whisper the same fundamental truths about the human spirit. Whether it is a shaman's tree, a philosopher's concept, or a digital avatar's code, every sky ladder is fundamentally a symbol of radical hope. It is a declaration that our current state is not our final destination, that a path exists out of limitation and toward something greater. This hope is not passive, it is an active, demanding force. Across every tradition, we see the non-negotiable necessity of effort and purification. The Chinese emperor undergoes meticulous ritual. The alchemist endures calcination. The Buddhist monk dedicates a lifetime to mindful steps. There are no elevators to enlightenment, only a staircase that must be climbed one arduous rung at a time. This difficult process underscores a profound pattern. True ascent always requires a descent, a humbling confrontation with our own shadows before we can truly rise. The journey transforms the traveler, forging a new consciousness that integrates the wisdom of both the heights and the depths. This transformation is never solely for the individual. The shaman climbs to heal the tribe, the enlightened ruler maintains cosmic harmony, the hero returns with a boon for the community. The climb, in its purest form, is an act of service. We see stunningly specific patterns emerge across cultures that speak to a shared symbolic language. The number of rungs is often 7 or 9, reflecting universal stages of spiritual initiation. Guardians like Heimdall on his bridge or the demons on the painted ladder test the climber's worthiness, ensuring that only those purified by ordeal may proceed. And nearly every tradition carries a cautionary tale of a fall, from Icarus to the builders of Babel, a stark reminder that hubris, the belief that we have conquered the ladder rather than been granted passage, is the quickest route to a devastating plunge. So what do these intricate commonalities ultimately reveal? They are a testament to a universal human condition, a shared yearning etched into our collective psyche for meaning, connection, and transcendence. We are, it seems, a species hardwired to look upward and to build, in myth and in mind, a structure for our ascent. This ancient cross-cultural blueprint now invites us to take the final, most important step, to bring the symbol down to earth and discover what this ladder means for the story of your own life. Your own personal sky ladder does not need to be carved from jade or built to reach the stars. It can begin with something as simple as a piece of paper and a moment of quiet intention. Imagine writing a single, meaningful goal on the bottom rung of a hand-drawn ladder you tape to your wall. Each week or month, you add another rung, documenting a small step you have taken or a lesson you have learned. This tangible act transforms an ancient archetype into a living map of your growth, a daily reminder that every great ascent is built one manageable step at a time. This is the practical magic of integrating sky ladder wisdom into the rhythm of modern life. Start a journal where you reframe your challenges not as obstacles but as rungs. Did you navigate a difficult conversation with more patience than before? That is a solid step upward. Did you learn a new skill that brings you closer to a dream? Mark it down as another rung climbed. This practice shifts your perspective from feeling stuck to recognizing constant, incremental progress, no matter how small. Engaging directly with nature can also become a form of celestial climbing. A walk in a forest is no longer just exercise. It is a chance to place your hand on the bark of a modern world tree and feel its deep, grounding energy. Watching the predictable arc of the sun or the phases of the moon connects you to the cosmic rhythms that every culture saw as part of the Great Ladder. These simple, conscious acts root your personal journey within a vast, supportive universe, making your goals feel part of a grand, natural order. How can the study of myths themselves become a practical tool? When you face a period of confusion or failure, consider the story of Inanna's descent or Odin's ordeal. Their journeys teach that withdrawal and even symbolic death are often necessary precursors to rebirth and greater wisdom. This ancient perspective can reframe a personal setback not as an ending, but as a crucial phase of the climb, a necessary descent that makes the subsequent ascent possible. Set rung goals for your career or relationships. Instead of the daunting peak of becoming a manager, focus on the first rung of leading a single project successfully. Instead of the abstract summit of a perfect relationship, focus on the next step of having one more honest conversation. This method makes long-term aspirations feel achievable because your attention is on the immediate, actionable step right in front of you. So how does this ancient symbol truly empower your everyday decisions? It provides a resilient structure for hope. On difficult days, you can look at your paper ladder or journal and see proof of how far you have already come. It encourages patience, teaching you to trust the process of gradual elevation rather than yearning for a sudden, miraculous flight. The enduring legacy of these sky ladder stories is their stunning adaptability. They are not locked in ancient texts but are living, breathing blueprints for human potential. They assure us that the longing to climb, to improve, and to connect with something greater is the most natural impulse in the world. The ladder is always there, waiting for you to take your next step. From the shaman's tree to the philosopher's love, we have traveled across millennia and continents, tracing the luminous thread of a single, powerful idea. The Sky Ladder is far more than a collection of ancient stories. It is the grand, unifying narrative of the human spirit's relentless quest for immortality and enlightenment. These myths are not relics, they are a timeless inheritance reminding us that our deepest yearning to ascend, to become more than we are, is a fundamental part of what it means to be human. Across every culture, we find the same profound lessons. The climb demands resilience, teaching us to see every obstacle not as a wall but as a rung to be grasped. It calls for ethical growth, reminding us that true power is tempered by humility and used in service to others. And above all, it reignites a sense of wonder, an awe for the vast, mysterious cosmos of which we are an integral part. In our modern world, where technology offers new digital pathways to the stars, these ancient ladders hold a crucial mirror to our ambitions. They ask us if our pursuit of progress is balanced with wisdom, and if our desire for transcendence includes a reverence for the earth and each other. The ultimate truth echoed in every myth is that the climb itself is the destination. The struggles, the setbacks, the moments of clarity, these are not merely steps toward a goal, they are the very substance of a life fully lived. The journey transforms the traveler, making the summit not a place you arrive, but a person you become. The poet Rumi captured this eternal wisdom perfectly when he wrote, "As you start to walk on the way appears." Your life, with all its challenges and triumphs, is your own unique sky ladder. Every difficulty you overcome is a rung carved from strength. Every moment of compassion or insight is a step toward a higher understanding. You are building your ascent with every choice you make. We would love to hear which of these myths resonated most deeply with you. Was it the solitary journey of Jacob, the disciplined path of the monk, or the ecological wisdom of the world tree? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the mysteries that shape our world, consider subscribing for more journeys into the hidden stories that connect us all. May your own path be filled with light, and every step bring you closer to your own personal